Well, I ain't leaving. Well, as a matter of fact, we got over 100 teams out today enforcing immigration law, and we're going to flood the zone. I've said for a month, sanctuary cities, you don't want us to arrest these bad guys that you just listed out. We could arrest them in the safety and security of the county jail, but they won't let us into jail. They release them into the community, which means we got to send a whole bunch of teams in the community to find this dangerous person that don't want to be found. So sanctuary cities are going to get exactly what they don't want: more officers in the communities and more officers in worksite. We can't arrest them in jail or arrest them in the community. If we can't arrest them in the community, we're going to increase worksite enforcement operation. We're going to flood the zone. And based on what LA's doing right now, we're going to continue to flood the zones. We're going to be there tonight. We're going to be there tomorrow. We're going to be there every day in the next 4 years, arresting public safety threat illegal aliens. We're not going to apologize for doing it. So we're not going anywhere, Jesse. We're going to do the job the American people voted Donald Trump in office for. We're going to make America safe again, one illegal alien criminal at a time. And this is another reason we need the big, beautiful bill passed so we can hire more ICE agents, get more technology, and help us find these people. Look, we got over 20 million illegal aliens in this country. We got less than 5,000 deportation officers. We're outnumbered. You want more criminals taken off the street? You want more efficient operations? Then they need to pass this bill and fund ICE and fund the Border Patrol to keep President Trump's promise to the American people.
To the Lord our God belong mercies and forgivenesses, though we have rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord Yahweh our power, to walk in his ways, his laws, which he set before us by his servants the prophets. Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. As it is written in the law of Moses, all this evil is come upon us, yet made we not our prayer before the Lord Yahweh our power, that we might turn from our iniquities and understand thy truth. Therefore hath the Lord Yahweh watched upon the evil and brought it upon us. For the Lord Yahweh our power is righteous in all his works which he doeth, for we have obeyed not his voice. Daniel chapter 9, verse 9 to verse 14. Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. Double honors to our venerable apostles and others of great millstone who rule well, and peace and blessings to Lord's elect, the house of David. And so, Brother Haran coming back at you with a quick lesson, low and to be edifying and uplifting unto the elect. All right, I saw this article I want to go into real quick. All right, and it's titled, New ICE mobile app pushes biometric policing onto American streets. Okay, and as soon as I saw this, I read through it a little bit. Through the spirit, I picked up on the fact that this is all the preparation for what we've been calling a police state. Okay, a police state. So we're going to go into what a police state is, and then we're going to read the article and see if what we're reading matches up with what a police state actually is by definition. Okay, and then we're going to see how the next coming days and weeks and months, these kind of things that we're going to read will also play out, because it's not just an introduction of this surveillance technology, but also how they're going to use it. All right. And not just, again, like I said, introduction, but what kind of avenues this is going to end up in. Right. What kind of control are they going to have when it's all said and done? OK, so let's read. It says a police state refers to a government that exercises control through pervasive police or security forces, often at the expense of civil liberties and personal freedoms. This can involve the use of secret police, surveillance, and arbitrary exercise of power. While some argue the term describes a specific type of authoritarian or totalitarian regime, others view it as a spectrum with any law or action that restricts freedom moving towards a police state. Here are more detailed breakdowns, right? Key characteristics of a police state. What are certain things that you're going to see in a police state? Okay. It says repressive social control. The government maintains a tight grip on society, often limiting individual freedoms and political participation. Now, remember last year when Trump was running, he was doing a rally. I forget exactly what state it was, but he said that the Christians should go vote, right? That this is it's going to be fixed in the next 4 years. It's going to be fixed. They're not going to have to worry about it, right? So we can conclude that what he was alluding to is the fact that the system is going to change, where there will be no more rights or no more freedom slash ability to make a choice on who you want to be president. It's not like you had it in the first place anyway, but now it's going to be blatant, where they don't need to trick you anymore. They don't need to come tell you, oh, we have two political parties and two political heads, and you need to vote for one of them, because if you don't vote, then all hell's going to break loose. All right, go vote, go vote, go vote. You no longer need to worry about that, because everything's going to be fixed. It's going to be taken care of, according to the words of Trump, right? It says pervasive surveillance, right? Secret police, informants, and widespread surveillance technologies are used to monitor citizens' activities. Okay? Arbitrary exercise of power. Police and security forces operate outside of established legal procedures, meaning outside of the Constitution, potentially violating individual rights and freedoms. Your Bill of Rights are going to be absolutely annihilated. All right? And we're going to get it. Let's keep going. Just listen. All right? It says militarization of police. Law enforcement agencies may be equipped with military-grade weapons and tactics, potentially increasing the risk of violence and intimidation. Now, I've done many videos in the past on the various alphabet agencies that have stocked up on ammo. Okay, you got all kinds of different bullets, billions of rounds of ammo by the DHS. Okay, the CDC. All right, the Post Office General. What else? Let's see, the FBI, the CIA, the NSA. Okay, all these other alphabet agencies that work underneath the government. All right, they've bought, and over the years, decades, they've stacked up on rounds of ammo, and they have this specific bullet. It's called the hollow point bullet. Okay, and what that does is once it hits the target, it expands. The mouth opens up, and it shreds all your organs, tissues, and all kinds of stuff. All right, deadly stuff. All right, and that's just not that. That's old stuff. That's like old stuff. I wonder what they got now. Okay, but again, the militarizing of the police, you're already seeing that. Look at what happened with a couple weeks ago. It seems like so long ago, right? A couple of weeks ago in LA, when they had all those planned orchestrated riots that didn't really go nowhere, right? You saw the police, they brought in the National Guard, right? But prior to the National Guard coming in, the police already have their vehicle that they're using is mad military or militant. Okay, it's not no more police force, it's law enforcement. Okay, it's two different things. Law enforcement and police are two different things. All right, it says here, suppression of dissident or dissent. It says political opposition and criticism of the government are often suppressed through censorship, propaganda, and even violence. All right, so we're witnessing semblances of censorship and propaganda now, but eventually it will lead to violence. Okay, we talk about martial law and so on and so forth. Okay, it says examples and perspectives, historical examples. Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union are often cited as historical examples of police states. Contemporary concerns. Some argue that certain aspects of modern governments, such as increased surveillance and the militarization of police, are moving towards a police state. Okay? Divergent views. Whether a specific country can be classified as a police state is often debated, with different perspectives on the balance between security and freedom. Okay, and those two things, you know, they play a role in each other in the sense that if you have security, you don't have much freedom, and if you have a lot of freedom, you don't have much security. You understand? So anytime you have a society that gives up their freedoms for a little bit of security, as in I believe in the words of, I believe it was Benjamin Franklin, right? He said, any citizen of any country or state that gives up their freedoms and rights for a little bit of protection and security shall have and deserve none. Okay, so you're not gonna get it's for the safety, peace and safety, all that bullshit that they preach to people. That's an exchange for that peace and safety. You're gonna have to give up your freedoms and your rights. Okay, the things that make you you. That's how far they want to go. This is not about just having troops in the streets. No, this goes further than that. And what we're gonna read will explain to you that the end goal ultimately is not just a panopticon where they have cameras everywhere that watches and polices you and your actions, okay, which will be used against you, a la communist China slash the surveillance world of China right now, okay? But they want to have surveillance under the skin, okay? We always said they're gonna go step by step by step. The next step you're gonna see is wearables, and then from wearables it will quickly turn into implantables, because the wearable stage is designed to be faulty. That opens the way for them to bring in the implantables, which will be the one that fixes the faults that the wearables had. You see. So continuing, it says, in essence, a police state is a system where the government's power is used to control and suppress its citizens, often through the actions of its security forces rather than through the rule of law and the protection of individual liberties. You hear that? So, now that we know what a police state is, let's read. It says, new ICE mobile app pushes biometric policing onto American streets. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has quietly deployed a new surveillance tool in its enforcement and removal operations, which is otherwise abbreviated as ERO, E-R-O. So enforcement and removal operations arsenal, a smartphone app known as Mobile Fortify. Designed for ICE field agents, the app enables real-time biometric identity verification using facial recognition or contactless fingerprints. Okay? And you notice the first sentence, it says they quietly deployed this. It's a new surveillance tool that they quietly deployed. You see? And as we read, you'll see that this is all just like, a couple of weeks ago, Trump partners up with Palantir, and now I think last week or so, I think it was this week or last week, they said that the military had sworn an oath, or had sworn the heads of Palantir. I think Alex Karp is part of them. All right, and they're gonna be lieutenant generals, if I'm not mistaken. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're gonna have a say in how the military will be using their technology on not just American citizens, but the so-called global citizens, as they say. Okay, and that very much reminds me of Revelation 12:12, because they're not playing. We've been warning about these things, but as the days come by, these things are happening quicker, man. Within a week, you could see 3 different headlines that normally would have taken months or sometimes years, all right, apart from each other, man. But because of AI's growth and such speedily growth, is making these prophecies come to pass faster. Okay, Revelation 12:12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Okay, so this is all part of the building blocks to that time like never before that we always talk about, the evil days, right? It says, based on leaked emails reported by 404 Media, the introduction of Mobile Fortify marks a profound shift in ICE's operational methodology of using traditional fingerprint-based stationary checks to using mobile on-the-go biometric profiling that echoes the type of border surveillance previously confined to airports and ports of entry. Okay, now remember, I did a video too, all right, going into how, and I explained how when they talk about the border is anywhere within a 100-mile radius of whether it be an airport or a port of entry. Okay, so airports are everywhere. If you're within a 100-mile radius of any airport, you're considered within reach of border. Therefore, whatever technology that ICE is going to have, okay, eventually FEMA will have the same thing, so on and so forth. But whatever technology you're going to have in order to enforce certain new laws, draconian laws that are going to be pertaining to the border per se, if you're within 100-mile radius of any port or airport or port of entry, whatever the case may be, those laws/rules will apply to you as well. Okay. So if you look at the West Coast, the East Coast, North border and South border, if you're within 100-mile radius of any of those places, this affects you. And then when you come into the mainland itself, if you're within 100-mile radius of any airport, it affects you. So when you look at it, when you kind of look at it, it's like, how many, how much land or space do people have that these kind of rules are not going to affect them? You see? And then when you have RFK coming out and talking about something that we said he was going to do eventually, which was to switch everything into the digital, right? Now he's saying, oh, we're going to have wearables that's going to track Americans' health. Like, who the fuck made these people like gods? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like doctors that are just like, we're so concerned with people's health. We have to do things to change the way things are done so we can make sure we can make America healthy again. Like, dude, somebody's health is their own shit. Like, that's their own prerogative, bro. It's not up to the government to try to find ways to make Americans healthy. The fuck? What is this? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like prisoners in a ward. We gotta make sure they're fed. We gotta make sure they have water to drink. It's not like that. It's not like that. They're trying to make it like that, but it's not really like that. You can't tell somebody, it's free. You can go smoke cigarettes, right, and get cancer and shit. But in the same time, we're trying to do things to protect your health. Like, it's such a stupid ass thing, bro. But hey, these Americans will believe it. Okay, they'll come up with anything, all right, in order to have that control. Okay, and RFK is just another devil, all right, who's been paid by the Jays, owned by the Jays to push J agendas, just like all the other presidents, including Trump. Okay, they're all the same. They all work for the interests of the Jays. All right. So continuing, it says, Mobile Fortify was built to integrate seamlessly with multiple Department of Homeland Security biometric systems. Agents using ICE-issued mobile devices can now photograph a subject's face or fingerprint, triggering a near-instant biometric match against data sources that include CBP's Traveler Verification Service and DHS Border Automated Biometric Identification System, which is otherwise known as IDENT, database which contains biometric records on over 270 million individuals. That's crazy. This level of portability and automation suggests a capability that is poised to extend biometric surveillance far beyond designated checkpoints and enter neighborhoods, local transport hubs, and any environment in which ICE officers operate. Okay? Facial recognition, though notably less reliable than fingerprints, is nevertheless embedded in the app's core functionality. A February 2025 DHS Inspector General audit had warned that reliance on facial recognition risked misidentification. ICE agents have been observed pointing phones at individuals in cars during protests and other domestic operations, although it remains unclear whether Mobile Fortify was active in those encounters. The presence of a, quote, training mode within the app's software, though, suggests that ICE envisions a spectrum of deployments from casual identity checks to more deliberate urban biometric sweeps. Remember how we talked about Rex 84 and how they're going to use this whole so-called migrant situation as a catalyst to bring in that police state? There'll be arrests, there'll be imprisonment, there'll be fines, there'll be lockdowns, there'll be troops in the streets, all in the name of, or in justification, in the name of peace and security, in the name of order, in the name of finding out who the domestic teas are, who the perpetrators are, who the bad actors are, and so on and so forth. This is all made up shit. They're going to criminalize people who are law-abiding citizens who just don't want to go along with the plan. Okay? When you go back, I think it was 2022 or 2023, the DHS already put 90% of American citizens on the domestic terror watch list. Okay? So when Trump is having a conversation on a hot mic and he says that the ingrowns are next, all right, and he's making plans with Hegseth and Pam Bondi, all right, on how they can come up with certain laws, all right, to come against the American people to circumvent the Constitution. Okay, you should know where this is all headed to, man. Eventually, all power will be pushed over to FEMA. Okay, and you're gonna have FEMA troops in the streets trying to maintain what they call law and order. All right, and the next big event is right around the corner, man. Right around the corner. You could almost smell it, man. I'm telling you, I can feel it. Yo, it's right around the corner. Okay, July is coming. You know, they got their so-called Bilderberg meeting. I think is either wrapping up this week or has been wrapped up already. All right, but typically, as soon as that shit is over with, events start happening. Let me just leave it at that. Okay. So continuing, it says, although ICE officials stress that biometric matching happens in real time, the underlying model appears to be automated. A mobile photo or print is captured, transmitted to a DHS server linked to identity repositories, and compared through algorithmic matching, most likely involving AI-enhanced pattern recognition. DHS's own AI use case inventory confirms that ICE deploys AI for public safety and immigration enforcement tasks, including facial recognition and predictive analytics. That's just crazy. The mobile Fortify app thus fits into a broader ICE strategy of integrating AI-driven biometric data mining with field operations. This is a police state, man. It says, an audit last September by DHS's Inspector General highlighted serious security concerns within the landscape of ICE's mobile device ecosystem. The audit revealed that ICE failed to apply required government security settings to roughly 73% of its mobile devices and allowed employees to install unsecured high-risk apps sourced potentially from China, Russia, or other adversarial nations. Yeah, right. It says ICE also admitted that some of its mobile devices, notably those used overseas, lacked threat detection security software. In one sample, 30% of mobile devices disposed between late 2021 and mid-2023 had unclear or missing sanitization logs, raising fears that sensitive biometric data may have been left exposed. Compounding this, a lack of formal policies governing overseas device use led to instances where U.S. mobile devices were connected to unauthorized foreign networks, potential entry points for espionage or supply chain attacks. Interesting. Beyond digital vulnerabilities, the legal framing of mobile Fortify demands scrutiny. Border surveillance tools such as CBP's facial recognition at ports of entry have legal authority rooted in border entry reviews and consent-based processes. But using those same systems in domestic policing without public notice, warrants, or even agency guidelines opens the door to constitutional questions under the Fourth Amendment. Okay? Remember, Trump talked about this. He said he's going to work on bringing in a biometric visa exit entry system, which we desperately need, right? This was 8 years ago when he was talking his shit. All right. And now we're about to enter into a time where he's going to start pushing very much so, especially with America coming up on her 250th birthday, so to speak. Okay. He put out a tweet out the other day, which, as a matter of fact, let's pause right here and I'm going to read that. Okay, because it's now the article is shifting more into, this isn't just about security. This is more, it's borderline pushing your constitutional Fourth Amendment right. Trump tweeted, I want to say 4 days ago, right? He says, now that we have made peace abroad, we must finish the job here at home by passing, quote, the great big beautiful bill, end quote, and getting the bill to my desk ASAP, as soon as possible. It will be a historic present for the great people of the United States of America as we begin the celebration of our country's 250th birthday. Now, we're going to pause right there for a second. You notice, and the word peace in the first sentence that he wrote, now that we have made peace, it was all in caps, all capital letters. Okay? The next words that were in all capital letters was the great big beautiful bill. That was also in all caps. Okay. And it was in quotations too, by the way. Right. It says the great people of the United States of America was also in all caps. Okay. So we're just highlighting those things. We'll come back to it. It says we are finally entering our golden age, which will bring unprecedented safety, security, and prosperity for all our citizens. The all is all in caps. Okay. It says safety, security, and prosperity. Okay. July 4th is coming. Let me read this real quick. Let's read this real quick. All right. It's the book of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, we have no need that I write unto you. Right. So in other words, concerning the times, right, concerning the things that we're looking forward to, the things that are about to happen, right, we don't have to have somebody write to us. Okay, the Apostle Paul was writing that years ago, but we're talking about it now. We don't need somebody to come and tell us because we're already watching for these things, right? Verse 2 says, for yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night, right? It's going to happen unexpectedly to those who are not watching, right? For when they shall say peace and safety, when the people start saying everything is peaceful and secure, right? When Trump starts running his mouth talking about what? It's where is it at? Where is that? Right here. Unprecedented safety, security, prosperity for all citizens. Okay. When they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Okay. So could we see something huge pop off within the next couple of weeks, months? Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Okay. We will see. But it says here, it says, going back to Trump's tweet or what he put on his Truth Social, whatever. It says, to my friends in the Senate, lock yourselves in a room if you must. Don't go home and get the deal done this week. Work with the House so they can pick it up and pass it immediately. And that's also in quotes. All caps, right? No one goes on vacation until it's done. That's also in all caps. Everyone, most importantly, the American people will be much better off thanks to our work together. Make America great again. You hear this? This is like a plot, like it's an inside verbiage kind of thing to his insider people. Like, yo, it's time. Let's move. You know, he says, now that we have made peace abroad, we must finish the job here at home by passing the great big beautiful bill and get it to my desk immediately. Like, what do you mean by that? Now that we're done with the peace in the East, right? You went and bombed a country that was already bombed, and then you turned out and said, oh, we've created peace now. Sick shit. All right, so let's go back to the article. All right, and this is all going to start making sense. Okay, so it says here, indeed, this is going back to article. Indeed, this is friction. It says indeed, and this friction points to a critical oversight gap wherein ICE's mobile biometric strategy appears to have outpaced legislative scrutiny and civil liberties review, because it was done quietly, so they can skip all that review and scrutiny and all that because people will push back against it. You see, so these things are all done secretly in the name of peace and safety and security and so on and so forth. All right. It says a DHS AI inventory outline data mining and facial recognition use cases without acknowledging whether privacy safeguards like compliance auditing or retention schedules exist. Meanwhile, watchdog groups note that ICE has intertwined biometric data with internal analytics and external feeds such as financial records, social media data, and location tracking as part of a larger mission to proactively identify potential violations. Okay, so this is a pre-crime system. All right, you become a criminal just based on an anticipation that you may commit a crime. You haven't done it yet, but just the thought of you possibly thinking of doing it, that right there makes you a criminal, right? Proactively identify potential violations. Potential. So we're not identifying violations, we're identifying potential violations. That's crazy work. It says a request for information published by ICE in June alluded to future efforts to deploy or develop AI-powered monitoring tools capable of surveilling 1 million individuals or entities simultaneously. suggesting a biometric push that goes far beyond simply verifying identity. This is about control. This is literally the social credit system being set up right now as we speak. It starts with surveillance, okay? And then after the surveillance is set up, they come up with some new rules that your compliance with the surveillance will be able to be like, basically that's your ticket. If you are caught breaking any of those new rules through surveillance, you become a criminal. You could face charges, fines, or even jail time. Okay? So they already said this is all part of the beast system. We can see it. All right? It says, in parallel, ICE continues to expand its global biometric footprint. The Bitmap initiative equips foreign law enforcement partners with mobile biometric collection capabilities, enabling data sharing with DHS to identify so-called, quote, known or suspected terrorists, end quote, gang members, or cross-border criminals. This strategy dovetails with Mobile Fortify, painting a picture of a unified biometric sweep across digital, geographic, and operational domains. This is a global thing. Global thing. Okay? The underlying mobile device environment used by ICE could pose substantial security risks. The 2024 DHS audit revealed widespread shortcomings in mobile threat defenses, making agency devices susceptible to spyware, third-party app exploitation, and accidental leakage. A lost or compromised device, especially one storing unsanitized logs of biometric scans or geolocation data, could expose individuals to serious privacy violations or national security threats. Well, they're already spying on people, so that whole notion of privacy is already gone. It's already been violated. Okay? You know that, I believe this went up to the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken, but there was a couple that sued their state police, okay, for spying on them. Basically going against the Fourth Amendment. But then they found some trick, some technicality shit, and said no, it's not illegal that they can do that. So they basically they had a dispute with a next door neighbor. So the next door neighbor decided that they're gonna work with the police and try to see if they could find out if there's anything illegal that the couple may be doing, so they could get them. Right? It's kind of like a gotcha type shit, you know. So they put their cameras pointing towards the next door neighbor that they had a dispute with. They put that camera on their house and they were recording everything, where they said for 13 weeks straight. And then they handed all that stuff to the police, and the police was watching it, trying to see if there's any criminal activity in that home. You see? So when the family found out about it, they were like, wait a minute, what the hell? You pointing your camera at my house? Like, what's going on? So they sued them. And it came out that, oh, you can't really sue them because it's not really unconstitutional. I mean, they didn't really do anything. They didn't really trespass, right? They were just using the camera. It's kind of like saying that, you know, you have a problem with a police officer who was sitting in his car the whole time just looking through your window like, oh, is he really breaking your Fourth Amendment right? You know what I mean? Like, they try to make these technical arguments. So then they came out and said, okay, look, unless you explicitly block off your home so that nobody could really see inside of your yard or whatever the case may be, then you're not really expecting that kind of privacy like that. You see what I'm saying? So anyone could swing by and look inside your house and they can see what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? You can't really sue them for that, you know? So in the states, the states, various states are like, oh, well, I mean, shit, we still want to be able to spy on you. So there are certain kind of security walls that you can put around your house. You know, it can be a certain height. You know what I'm saying? You can't really have it so it's invisible, where we can't really, you know, see through. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to have certain things that, you know, is good enough where you block off and have some type of security / privacy, but we can still look through and make sure that, you know, everything is good. You know what I mean? Like, you can't completely have privacy type shit, which is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Which is completely crazy, but this is America, man. There ain't no freedoms. You dumbass people talking about, oh, we in the military, we fight for our freedoms. What freedoms are you talking about, man? What the fuck are you talking about? All right? And you're gonna be invited to a rude awakening very soon. When they start drafting your asses and send you overseas, or you're gonna eat missiles out there, then you're really gonna wake up and be like, damn, I've been fighting for my own death this whole time and I didn't even know. All right? Anyway, So let's go back to this real quick. Right. It says legal concerns also persist. Unlike fixed border checkpoints, ICE enforcement and removal operations officers operate across local jurisdictions, including workplaces, transit systems, and private property, often without clear statutory guardrails or warrants. There you go. Okay. So again, a lot of people are going to be arrested. They got the red list, the blue list, the yellow list. This is all part of how they circumvent the so-called the constitutional rights / Bill of Rights. Okay. It says this flexibility allows the app to extend biometric surveillance into areas where individuals may not anticipate being scanned or identified by government agents. Okay. Your workplace, all right, private property, all kinds of shit. They're going to be up in there spying on your ass. All in the name of, oh, we need to do it so we can find out who is who are the domestic T's, and so on and so forth, right? It says the reach of mobile fortified therefore could exceed traditional expectations of law enforcement encounters and raises fundamental questions about due process and constitutional protections. Contributing to these concerns is the existence of an expanding biometric infrastructure that spans domestic and international systems. Databases like IDENT and its eventual successor, the Homeland Advanced Recognition Technology, which is known as HART platform, H-A-R-T, the Homeland Advanced Recognition Technology. Keep that in mind. We're going to come back to that at a later date when we get more information on it, okay? Homeland Advanced Recognition Technology, HART, okay? Now store not only fingerprints and facial images, but also iris and gait patterns, okay? Meaning your facial patterns. It says these databases are interwoven with systems such as the Enforcement Integrated Database and Palantir's analytics platforms, creating networked surveillance ecosystem. Data captured through Mobile Fortify appears to flow directly into these repositories with little public insight into how it is verified, corrected, or challenged. So even if there's a mistake, you see how vague this is? That any American individual, American citizen, whether you're born here or not, whether your family is really from here or not, whatever the case may be, right? What they're doing now opens up the door for them to come after any and everyone, because you can have mistakes and these mistakes may not be corrected. You see, AI might mistakenly get John Acosta, okay, and mistake him for Acosta John. You see? And he'd be like, I'm sorry, we got John Acosta. No, my name is Acosta John. Oh, well, it says here that this is and you come with us. We'll deal with the questions later. You see what I'm saying? So this is definitely I'm not even gonna call it a slippery slope. We're already there. Ain't no slippery slope into anything. We're already there. This is already here. You know how much millions of dollars they spent on this type of technology, and it's already here. So expect to see robot dogs and all these different DARPA Boston Dynamics shits pop up on the scene very soon as well. Okay, so Palantir is in the mix. All right, it says oversight, meanwhile, remains minimal. DHS has yet to issue formal rules clarifying who may use Mobile Fortify, which populations it targets, how long biometric data may be stored, what legal authorities justify its use, or what audit controls apply. Without meaningful oversight, the deployment of Mobile Fortify risks setting a precedent for expansive mobile biometric surveillance untethered from constitutional constraints or public accountability. Without stronger security postures and clear biometrics guardrails, ICE is hurtling toward a frontier that its current policy and oversight structures appear unprepared to regulate. Okay? Now there's a reason why Trump wants to push that big beautiful bill. He wants to push that thing so fast because the things that are written in there, they verbatim came out and said no state can veto these things. Okay, especially when it comes to AI integration and so on and so forth, no state can veto it for at least 10 years. That's diabolical. Okay, and that is the first step leading to a totalitarian, draconian system, otherwise known as the coming new biometric police state. Okay? And you're going to see all these things play out. And it's not going to take 2 years or 3 years. This is happening within months, weeks. Okay? It's happening quick, very quickly. All right? Let's get this real quick. The guy that you guys trusted so much, the Lord's going to turn him on you. All right, it's the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 4. It says, and the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. Okay, so Trump's policies are not going to feel bad for anyone. All right, I believe they just ruled by the Supreme Court that they're taking away birthright citizenship. You're going to see how that's also going to play a role very soon when it comes to how they're going to treat the so-called American people. Okay, it's about to get crazy. And guess what? They can't just deport people. So they're going to have a place to put them. It's called concentration camps. Okay, it's called concentration camps. All right, so we're going to watch and see. Okay, we're going to watch and see. But this doesn't bode well for anyone, especially if you're a so-called Black, Latino, Native American, man. All right, they already started off with the so-called Northern Kingdom, or so-called Latinos, which is the Northern Kingdom. All right, and Trump said the birthright citizenship was not for anyone, any old person. It was for the babies of slaves. He literally used those words, man. I'm like, nigga, what? He said the babies of slaves. So, in other words, this is why we originally created this. So if you want to engage in these types of things, then you're going to have to be a slave for it to be, to apply to you, so to speak. Right? So we'll see how that plays out. Okay? We will see how that plays out. All right, but let's get this real quick. All right. There's a book of Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. It says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Okay, Daniel 12 and 1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Okay, so everything we're doing now is so the Lord can have mercy on us and have us written in his book of life. So that way we can get protection and ultimately deliverance from what's coming. And you got all these people scoffing and they're not even paying attention to what we're telling them. All right, you always want to come up and talk about how the white man can be saved. No, worry about how your ass is going to be saved from what the white man is about to do to your ass, man. You stupid ass nigga. All right, that's what's coming. Trouble is coming, and you niggas want to fight for the people who are going to be bringing you the trouble. That's stupid ass people, man. We can't talk to no people like that. All right, you leave them to their own devices, man. Okay, and Trump is going to show you something. All right, he's about to take his horns and shove it up your, you know what. All right, there's a book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 11. It says, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Okay, the dragon meaning what? The two horns talking about the two political systems. You have the Democrats and you have the Republicans. But in this case, right, they come in a docile mindset, in a docile state. You know, we're here for the people and we can do you no harm and so on and so forth. But yet, he spake as a dragon. All right, he spake as a dragon. When you go to the word dragon, it goes to the word dracon, which means draconian. All right, which is synonymous with the cruel Lord. All right, in Isaiah 19 that we read not too long ago. Okay, so expect to see, as the scripture says, a time like never before that we just read. Expect to see a whole different world that these people have never seen before, ever. Okay, it says like a time like never before for a reason. Okay, so those who are in the spirit, stay in the spirit. Those who are not in the spirit, well, you're gonna find out very soon that everything that we warned about wasn't a joke. Okay, just because you haven't seen it here before doesn't mean it's not gonna happen. As scripture says, it's gonna be like the days of Noah. They had never seen rain, but yet you had Noah prophesying that it's going to flood the whole entire earth. The Lord's going to flood the whole entire planet because of their sins and their disgrace. Okay? Their debauchery. All right? Their immorality. Same thing that's happening here. These niggas ain't seen America get hit with no nuclear missiles before. So for us to tell them that the Lord's going to flood this place with missiles is like a joke to them. They mock, they scoff. But you wait. You wait. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to leave it off there. Lord willing, you're edified and informed. In closing, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Kodash, the water Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And until next time, Shalom.
When I was in the Mossad, and we had a guy that gave us problems in the U.S., and he was speaking out, and he was talking like Pete talked once and said, Israel is bombing Lebanon with cluster bombs. We say, hey, who's that guy? You know, Pete Makaki, we used to call him. Yeah, which is Pete the cockroach. Because he makes a lot of noise and you can't get rid of him. So what you do is you get in touch with a guy in the station in New York or in the station in Washington. You say, tell the guys at B'nai B'rith to label him. And of course the campaign starts, and before you know it, the guy's labeled. And he's an anti-Semite. Because that's what we say he is. And that's one stain you cannot wash. Now, it shames me as a Jew to tell you that. But that's the fact. And it's wrong.